Welcome to NTD.
Good morning. Here are today's top stories. Senators ready to question President-elect Trump's picks to head the Department of Defense and Intelligence community. They want background checks. Are they patriots, or does their history present a challenge to their confirmation?
With weeks left before the end of President Biden's term, his administration is racing to push through a number of spending projects. How the Biden administration is planning to spend the rest of its allocated budget.
Israel's ambassador to Washington says a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah could be days away. This as Israel and Lebanon continue to trade missile strikes, while authorities in the United Arab Emirates have arrested 3 people suspected of murdering an Israeli rabbi.
And the holiday travel season is underway as millions of Americans are set to take to the sky or hit the road. What you need to know about the weather this week and how to plan your trip around it.
The iconic Los Angeles Auto Show is back, and NTD's Rabbi was there to take a peek at some of the famous cars from celebrities like Mark Wahlberg and Paris Hilton.
This is NTD Good Morning, live from our global headquarters in New York City. Here are Evelyn Lee and Kevin Hogan.
Hi, welcome to NTD.
Welcome. Today is Monday, November 25th.
A lot has happened in the nearly 4 years that President Biden's been in office, and now he's just in wrap-up mode. His chief of staff says it's all about execution and a peaceful transfer of power. And President Biden's in an interesting spot right now because he wants to do a lot to advance his agenda, but there's no time to pass new laws.
Definitely right now, one of the big concerns will be his legacy. But if Biden signs executive orders now, Trump will have an easy time to just overturn them, right? And that is why, with just weeks left in office, President Biden is racing to complete several spending projects.
They involve billions in spending on energy, transportation, education, and more. Here's that story.
With President-elect Trump vowing to revoke any unspent funds, the Biden administration is racing against the clock to push through a number of grants. In a news conference last week, Transport Secretary Pete Buttigieg told reporters the administration wants to invest in better transportation and improving supply chains. He announced plans to use more than $3 billion on projects for U.S. ports, improving road safety, supporting manufacturing, and improving rail service. The Biden administration plans to issue a number of grants for environmental protections, including $3 billion to help local water utilities comply with a nationwide deadline to remove all lead piping. The EPA also announced plans to impose a federal fee on oil and gas companies that release dangerous methane fumes above a certain threshold. And the Energy Department is looking to push through a $500 million loan to Michigan-based SK Siltron for the manufacture of silicon carbide wafers used in electric vehicles. The Biden administration is also looking to get a federal rule through that would allow the Education Department to cancel student loans for those with financial hardships. It's one of the few debt forgiveness plans the courts have not halted or reversed. Military aid to Ukraine is also part of the last-minute spending plans. The Pentagon said they'll work to use all allocated funds before Trump takes office. This includes over $7 billion in weapons from Pentagon stockpiles and another $2.2 billion for future contracts to produce weapons. Democrats in the Senate are also moving to approve judicial appointments. The Senate Judiciary Committee last week confirmed April Perry as a U.S. District Court judge. So far, the Senate Judiciary Committee has approved more than a dozen pending judicial nominees. Another 8 nominations are awaiting committee votes, while 6 are waiting for hearing dates.
President-elect Trump is almost finished with his cabinet picks.
With just several spots remaining, here's how his administration is shaping up.
The most recent nominees include Brooke Rollins, to lead the Department of Agriculture. Rollins served in Trump's first administration and later became the president and CEO of the America First Policy Institute, which is a conservative think tank.
Trump picked Russ Vought for the Office of Management and Budget. Vought has helped write parts of the Heritage Foundation's Project 2025, something Trump distanced himself from on the campaign trail.
Other recent nominees are Lori Chavez de Remer for Labor Secretary, Scott Turner for Housing and Urban Development, and Scott Bessent for Treasury Secretary.
Trump still needs to nominate heads of the Office of Science and Technology Policy, the Council of Economic Advisors, and the Small Business Administration, as well as a U.S. trade representative. And we're continuing with coverage of President-elect Trump's picks to head the intelligence community and the Pentagon. They are set to face some tough questions from senators when Trump nominates them after taking office next year. We're bringing on Mike Leon to talk about this. He's an NTD News contributor, as well as the Policy and Strategy Director at the Free and Equal Elections Foundation. He's also the host of the Can We Please Talk podcast. Mike, great to have you back on the show. Let's talk about Trump's pick to head the intelligence community, to be the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. She is someone who's spoken with a Syrian leader, Assad al-Bashar. Is she someone that they're going to really be questioning about that specific instance in which she met with someone who leads a nation hostile to the United States?
Hey, Kevin, good to see you first and foremost. Long time no see, buddy. You've been doing great work, by the way. So, yeah, Tulsi Gabbard, this is a very critical department. For people that don't know what the Director of National Intelligence does, DNI was formed after 9/11 happened, and it was formed for somebody to be able to capture all of the intelligence that all of our agencies are doing and talking to each other, so that way that report can be given to the President of the United States. So it's a very critical position. Obviously, James Clapper was a former DNI under a couple of administrations. And so this role is integral in terms of finding out how the agencies that have people that are on the ground doing reconnaissance work, et cetera, all talk to each other and share information so we avoid catastrophes like what happened on 9/11. In terms of Tulsi Gabbard, I was speaking with somebody who served with her recently for one of our episodes on Can We Please Talk? And he was like, look, I like Tulsi Gabbard. I served with her, but she's never handled intelligence. And so for somebody to oversee the central role that handles our intelligence of all of the agencies and communicates that to the president is very tough for me to understand why she would be nominated to this. Veteran affairs makes more sense for her. Army medic, served, and knows the issues that veterans return home with. So I think, for this, they're going to be hammering her on like what you mentioned on that meeting, but also they're going to be hammering her. I know other senators have been very vocal. Tammy Duckworth has said some things about that she could be compromised. Now, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far, but she's going to be hammered on some of the things that she has said about Syria, about Russia, that are really not in the best interest of the United States.
And Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, he says that Gabbard could easily pass a background check, something that these senators are saying they need to see because she serves in the Army Reserves currently. Now, you could comment on that, or what are, critics have been saying that Gabbard is saying these things are sympathetic to Russia surrounding its invasion of Ukraine. I haven't actually seen any of those statements yet. It's just reported. What's your comment there, Mike?
Yeah, no, and I kind of agree with you too. I haven't done the true deep dive into Tulsi Gabbard and some of her past statements. Obviously, I'd have to go back and see where she has said those sympathetic things, or at least what people think are sympathetic. But, the FBI background checks, these financial disclosure statements, all these things that have to be done as part of this confirmation process that the Senate committee will ultimately look at are some of the things that Tulsi Gabbard is, going to have to, at least show up and give some of this information about. But I also think that, the real reason why some people have this trepidation, and specifically more on the Pete Hegseth side because of some of the legal issues that he has, but more with the Tulsi Gabbard stuff is because, again, it's not about whether or not Tulsi Gabbard is qualified. She obviously, served previously in Congress. She's obviously served this country. It's more about the position itself, and it's really responsible for our national intelligence. And somebody who has never done that type of work, leading the agency responsible for doing that work, is something that I think is going to be hammered home, even more so with the talking points that you were talking about before of some of the senators saying that she has met with some leaders and she's been sympathetic to Russia's, involvement in Ukraine, et cetera.
Well, Mike, I'm sure the senators are going to consider all those points that you mentioned. And keep in mind, Trump can only afford to lose 3 senators their votes in this confirmation process because J.D. Vance, as the vice president, can cast a tie-breaking vote given that they have a 53 majority. Now, let's talk about Pete Hegseth. He's a former U.S. Army major in the Minnesota Army National Guard. He served in Iraq and Afghanistan. He's been selected to head the Department of Defense. This is the world's foremost military. Do you think that 2017 report with allegations of sexual assault, no charges, and he denies the allegations, but do you think that's going to cause a roadblock to his confirmation?
Yeah, I think that amongst other things, look, this is a little bit personal for me, Kevin, because, I started my career working at Fox News. I worked as a weekend PA and on Fox and Friends. I happen to know Pete Hezbollah. I happen to know a lot of people that still work at Fox and Friends, speaking with different people, not only that work for the Department of Defense, but people that know Pete. Pete is not qualified for this role. And I'm not saying that to discount his service to this country, because we thank him for that. It was, decades of service. I know he's written books. I know he's done stuff for veterans returning home. That's not the issue. Again, the issue is putting somebody who currently is not doing any of this work in charge of the agency responsible for keeping us safe, the largest military in the world. There's, so millions of people that work for the Department of Defense and for the Pentagon. And so, and I'm laughing a little bit because that's kind of the emotion. It's not meant to be humor. It's meant to be, we need to put somebody that is a serious person in this position. So I think senators are going to look at, not only his background and what you mentioned about the 2017 allegations, but they're going to look at, he's never managed a department bigger than 40 to 45 people at a nonprofit. Now he has to manage 1.9 million people. That is way too many people as an increase. Secretary of State, for example, Marco Rubio makes sense. Marco Rubio is on a Foreign Intelligence Committee. Marco Rubio has met with dignitaries. He's a natural transition to be Secretary of State. He will get confirmed very easily. Those are the type of roles we should be looking at for this cabinet that President Trump should be looking at. Pete Hezbollah is not one of those.
Well, thank you for sharing your insights with us. Mike Leon, our contributor and the Policy and Strategy Director at the Free and Equal Elections Foundation.
Thanks for having me, Kev.
Coming up after the break, Israel's ambassador to Washington says a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah could be days away. It says Israel and Lebanon continue to trade missile strikes while authorities in the United Arab Emirates have arrested 3 people suspected of murdering an Israeli rabbi.
Is China looking to cash in for helping Russia during its war with Ukraine? A top U.S. admiral thinks the communist nation could score big wins from Russia in submarine technology. Get the scoop in a minute.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed.
There's cultures that have been lost, but this culture hasn't been. The artist is showing us our sense of who we are, where we came from. You look at his hat. His hat is knitted probably by a man because a man traditionally knitted the hats. That hat tells you the story of who this person is, what his place in the culture is, the animals around him. Everything's all contained in the messages in the hat. And the tool that he's carrying over his shoulder. This is a centuries-old tool that has been able to rework the mountains. Those traditions are invaluable, and if we don't honor those traditions, then we're rootless. The artist is showing us the value of maintaining our culture and respecting our culture.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Mariella!
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Welcome back. Israel's ambassador to Washington says a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah could be days away.
Mike Herzog told Israeli media there are points to finalize, but that the government was close to a deal with the Iran-backed terrorists.
Herzog said the deal includes plans to move both Israeli troops and Hezbollah fighters out of southern Lebanon.
One of the issues still needs to be finalized is an Israeli demand to reserve the right to act should Hezbollah violate the conditions of the agreement.
Israel has accused Hezbollah of violating the UN resolution that ended the 2006 war, while Lebanon says Israel has sent ships and jets into its territory when there was no conflict.
It is not yet clear whether Lebanon will agree to the deal.
And meanwhile, an Israeli rabbi who went missing in the United Arab Emirates has been found murdered.
The U.A.E.'s Jewish community is in shock at the news. This as Israel conducted one of the deadliest strikes on the heart of Lebanon. Here's the story.
U.A.E. authorities have arrested 3 people suspected of murdering an Israeli Moldovan rabbi, according to the Emirati Interior Ministry on Sunday. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office on Sunday denounced the killing. He said it was, quote, a heinous anti-Semitic terrorist act.
The state of Israel will use every means to bring the murderers and their dispatchers to justice. None of them will escape accountability. I greatly appreciate the cooperation with the U.A.E. in investigating this murder.
Full details of the incident will be disclosed upon the conclusion of the investigations, according to a social media post by the U.A.E.'s Ministry of Interior. Meanwhile, in Israel, at least 9 people are injured after dozens of projectiles were fired from Lebanon into Israel on Sunday. The Israeli military said Hezbollah was behind the attacks, saying at least 160 projectiles has been fired over the border. According to police, residential buildings were hit in the cities of Nahariya and Haifa. It comes after an Israeli airstrike killed at least 20 people in central Beirut on Saturday, according to Lebanon's health ministry. It's one of the deadliest strikes on the heart of the capital since Israel began its assault against the Iran-backed Hezbollah group. The blast struck the capital at around 4 a.m. and left a deep crater. It was the 4th Israeli airstrike this week targeting a central area of Beirut.
Over to Ukraine now, where local authorities say a Russian missile strike hit the port city of Odessa this morning, injuring 10 people. This as President-elect Trump's pick for a national security advisor says the war in Ukraine must come to a responsible end. It comes as Russia launched at least 73 drones into Ukraine over the weekend. NTD's Fiona G has the details.
The latest exchange of fire comes after Ukraine launched U.S.-made ATACMS long-range missiles for the first time. Mike Waltz, President-elect Donald Trump's pick for national security advisor, said the war must be brought to a responsible end.
We need to restore deterrence, restore peace, and get ahead of this escalation ladder rather than responding to it.
He also emphasized the unity between the current Biden administration and upcoming Trump administration.
Jake Sullivan and I have had discussions. We've met. For our adversaries out there that think this is a time of opportunity, that they can play one administration off the other, they're wrong. And we are hand in glove. We are one team with the United States in this transition.
Amid these rising tensions, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Italy Sunday to attend a meeting of the Group of 7 countries. The State Department said Blinken would discuss issues including conflicts in the Middle East, Russia's war against Ukraine, Indo-Pacific security, and the ongoing crises in both Haiti and Sudan.
Now, could China end up profiting from the war in Ukraine?
Indo-Pacific Commander Samuel Paparo says the conflict could result in a dangerous quid pro quo between Russia and China.
PRC has helped to rebuild Russia's war machine with 90% of its semiconductors and 70% of the machine tools that have rebuilt that war machine. I expect Russia to provide submarine technology to the PRC that has the potential of closing American undersea dominance to the PRC.
Paparo said that tech exchange could lead to China closing the gap on American undersea dominance. The Indo-Pacific commander was speaking at the Halifax International Security Forum over the weekend. China boasts the largest navy in the world with more than 370 ships. But its submarine fleet is considered inferior to the U.S.'s.
A recent report said U.S. submarine capabilities remain an area of unquestionable U.S. dominance. The United States has 66 nuclear submarines, while China has 12. Paparo also expressed concern about the growing cooperation among China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia.
Taiwan's defense ministry reported a Chinese balloon over the sea to its north today. It's the first time since April that it reported such an incident. Taipei views such occurrences as part of a pattern of harassment by Beijing. Taiwan said in January that Chinese balloon activity took place at an unprecedented scale. That was the period leading up to its presidential election. It described the incidents as part of a Chinese pressure campaign, calling it gray zone warfare, designed to exhaust an enemy using irregular tactics without open combat. China has previously dismissed Taiwan's complaints about the balloons, saying they were for weather monitoring purposes. The Chinese regime claims Taiwan as part of its territory, despite never having ruled the island.
U.S. authorities recently discovered a new Chinese hacking campaign. The group has already compromised several major telecom giants like Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. What do Americans think about China potentially having access to our phone calls and text messages? NTD's Sam Wong was out on the National Mall in D.C. to find out.
First question, are you familiar with China's social credit score system?
No, I know.
No, I have not.
I have not, no.
I think I did come across it one time on social media, but I didn't really go too deeply into it.
Basically what that is China is compiling data from their citizens and tracking their behaviors and rank them accordingly. So just wondering, what's your reaction to that?
Oh, it sounds like one of those episodes from Black Mirror.
Wow, I did not know that was a thing. That's crazy to think that, you're getting scored based off your facial recognition and also everything that you got going on in your life.
It seems quite restrictive. If it were me, I'd feel a little concerned.
So recently the U.S. has found out there's a hacking campaign going around. Basically, they're going around compromising major telecom companies like AT&T, Verizon, and stuff like that. So just wondering, are you concerned that China is tapping into your messages and phone calls?
Yeah, again, that's obviously something to be concerned about, especially being a young teenager with always on our phones, social media, stuff like that.
Well, that's a very interesting question. When we're buying security systems, we have to make sure that those security systems that we buy off of Amazon, they're not using a Chinese cloud.
It's always concerning when someone has your data that you're maybe not willingly giving to them, but also I think the internet these days, nothing is secure.
To be honest, all governments do that.
You ever read into China's human rights record and anything else?
Yes, I know a lot about the Tiananmen Square and how the Uyghurs in the northwest are being treated. Worried about people there. Don't know whether it's going to happen to people here.
That's a lot of privacy, and whatever information that you do throw out there, you could be texting your parents about information on their car, and then just next thing you know, you could just end up with nothing one day. So yeah, I would be definitely concerned if that's the case with China tapping into our phones.
Up next, will President-elect Trump's picks to lead the Treasury and Agriculture departments benefit Americans? Can they make the U.S. more competitive and help American farmers? Political strategist shares his take.
A former Arizona County treasurer pleads guilty to embezzlement. How she stole more than $38 million from the county in a minute.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day, just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
Whispered across generations, a hidden secret unveils the essence of longevity and vitality. A timeless legend regarding energy and wonder. Rooted in ancient health wisdom, we proudly introduce Pure Tang Black Ginseng, a 100% natural, organic energy drink made from premium 6-year-old Korean ginseng. It takes 2,260 days and nights from seed to growth, undergoing a meticulous 9-step process of steaming and drying. Black ginseng reaches its full potency, enriched with ginsenoside RG3 and enhanced absorption efficiency. No sugar, no caffeine, no artificial ingredients. Experience the pure, natural power of Pure Tang Black Ginseng. Nourish your body, strengthen your immunity, and boost your energy. To order Pure Tang Black Ginseng, please visit puretang.com.
Thanks for staying with us.
And if you're just joining us now, here are some of today's top headlines.
Israel's ambassador to Washington says a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah could be days away. This as authorities in the United Arab Emirates have arrested 3 suspects in connection with the murder of an Israeli rabbi. The U.A.E's Ministry of Interior said the full details of the incident will be disclosed after the investigation is concluded. And in Israel, 9 people were injured after dozens of projectiles were fired from Lebanon into Israel yesterday. That's after an Israeli airstrike struck central Beirut on Saturday.
With just a few weeks left before President-elect Trump takes office, the Biden administration is rushing to push through a number of spending projects and grants. These include energy and transportation infrastructure, as well as student debt forgiveness and military aid to Ukraine. The Senate is also racing to confirm several judicial appointments before time runs out.
President-elect Trump is almost done finalizing his potential cabinet. His most recent nominees include Brooke Rollins for Agriculture Secretary, Russ Vought for the Office of Management and Budget, and Lori Chavez de Remer for Labor Secretary. There are still 4 open positions for Trump to fill. Senators are tasked with confirming President-elect Trump's cabinet picks.
Some Democrats are expressing openness to some of Trump's nominees. NTD's Melina Wisecup reports.
Several of Trump's cabinet picks come from Capitol Hill. Having a closer relationship with other lawmakers, some Democrats are now expressing optimism about a few of them. Congresswoman Lori Chavez-DeRemer is now tapped to serve as Trump's labor secretary. This pick has garnered positive reaction from a top-ranking Democrat, Senator Patty Murray. The chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee said that she's, quote, glad to see that the former congresswoman supports pro-union legislation. As for Senator Marco Rubio, who's picked to serve as the Secretary of State, several Democrats are expressing positivity about his abilities.
So we have a friendship. We've served together. I look forward to talking to him to see what he's going to do and what his policies will be.
I think Marco Rubio is enormously well qualified for the job for which he's been nominated. I still want to ask questions. I'm not going to completely prejudge even him.
Senator John Fetterman has been the most vocal Democrat in support of some of Trump's picks, telling reporters he doesn't know why an open dialogue is controversial.
And there's some that might be able to enthusiastically vote yes, and like my Senator Rubio or Stefanik, or actually there's that fantastic a labor nominee as well too. In fact, and I don't understand why it's controversial to say, hey, we're going to engage in that conversation.
Senators will hear from Trump's cabinet picks early next January. A simple majority is needed to approve them, which Republicans will then hold. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
For an in-depth discussion on President-elect Trump's picks to head the Treasury and Agriculture departments, we welcome Cameron Hamilton. He's a Republican political strategist and former congressional candidate. Hi, Cameron. Thanks for joining us this morning. Let's talk about Scott Bessent. He's Trump's pick to head the Treasury. He's a hedge fund manager, and Trump says that he's going to make the U.S. more competitive and fight against unfair trade imbalances. Are there reasons to believe that he will do so?
I think so. So good morning, and thank you again for having me. It's always a pleasure to join you all. Scott Bessent represents quite a bit of political and also economic bona fides. He's been an investor. He's had a fairly bipartisan track record, which is very palatable for some. But he's also a staunch advocate for the U.S. currency reserve. And so I think that by correcting some of the imbalances of what we found with U.S. trade, it'll help leverage the ability of the United States to regain some of its previous capital and to reestablish its footing, increase its credit rating, and really looking to leverage our U.S. economy further across the sector and across the world. As most people know, there are many different commodities that are traded in the U.S. dollar, which means they have to convert foreign currencies into American dollars before then they can trade for specific commodities. That provides a royalty and a net influx for our United States Treasury. So Scott has been a staunch advocate of reforms like this to make sure that we expand those opportunities so that we really can push the United States currency even further throughout the world, especially at a time when many in the international coalition are now considering the possibility of alternatives to the United States currency as being the International World Reserve.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Bessent, before the election, he was actually a little bit hesitant to take on Trump's maximum policy on tariffs, but then recently he just wrote about how these tariffs could be a useful tool for economic policy. More to talk about there, but what about the U.S. dollar? Will it be able to maintain its status as the world's reserve currency under Bessent?
I do think it will. I think, again, Bessent's going to be a strong advocate for that. You've also got other individuals that are appointed within commerce, which have a very, very strong accolades and very, very strong perspective on how to ensure that the United States economy functions properly. Scott, the thing about trade, and most economists have always kind of been very reluctant to engage in tariff wars. Traditionally, your economic theories that were more dominant in Wall Street and in many other sectors were the free trade argument. However, what we've seen now is with COVID and with the reduction of infrastructure and production here in the United States, there's a huge focus on not an isolationist perspective, but more of a balance, ensuring American industry returns back to the United States because that acts as another leverage and another buffer for the American economy. If we can't produce, then the United States economy is now reluctant to have to trade overseas. And now, the United States economy is contingent and is, in some sense, almost held hostage to foreign markets. That's heavily influenced by war, economic disaster, sanctions, you name it. So Scott brings now this kind of merger that Trump has brought about, where the free trade economists have been brought in with the tariff advocates to really have a more balanced approach on bringing industry and production back into the United States. And I think he'll try to promote policies and principles specifically to achieve that. There's also quite a bit of discussion about overhauling the U.S. tax code. I think Scott will also be an advocate there to simplify it so that Americans can feel better and more secure with how we pay taxes.
That's a fascinating perspective, Cameron. Now let's talk about Brooke Rollins. She's the CEO of the America First Policy Institute, and if she's confirmed as the Agriculture Secretary, would she be able to help American farmers?
I do. So she's been a staunch advocate for deregulation. She's has a pretty exceptional criminal justice reform background. Again, this is one of those unique nomenclatures where Republicans have we've really not led with some of our strengths with that deregulatory mindset. I think Ms. Rollins brings very much that perspective, seeing small farmers hit. She went to Texas A&M, a huge agricultural industry and university there. So I think she brings this argument and perspective of wanting to open up the avenues so that production of food and production of natural resources here in the United States can expand. We've hit farmers with quite a bit of burden, restriction, tariffs, and we've also shipped food overseas very aggressively while we have food shortages here in the United States. All the while, additional regulatory requirements are placed on farmers. I think Ms. Rollins is going to be an advocate for rolling many of those regulations back so that we can produce more and faster, because we should be a net exporter of food. Those are things that she believes in firmly and that she's written about specifically at the America First Policy Institute.
As president, Trump was a big advocate of making sure that trade is done fairly and waging this trade war with countries like China, for example. And it benefited the American farmers, some say, but it also may have cost some jobs. Where does Rollins fit in all this?
It'll be difficult to say. China is going to be a very tenuous battle to contend with. I know that Trump he's prided himself in being a strongman in these arguments and negotiations. I think we'll have to see this again. President Xi knows kind of the prerogatives of President Trump, but again, he's aligning himself with much more pro-liberty oriented factions now than he ever did in 2016. I think this is a really positive influence for the American economy. So with Rollins, I think that we'll see her also advocate for some trades and tariffs. The United States doesn't face, the United States faces significant tariffs overseas when we export goods and commodities. I think Rollins is going to be one who will advocate for balance. So she will likely work with Mr. Bessent and others to ensure that as we engage in international trade, specifically of ag and food, there's a substantial portion that we're using to leverage to ensure that our trade is fair. Another reasonable thing to consider, though, is ag is one of the largest banking industries in the United States through small business loans, through farming loans, and other resources. Well, again, Ms. Rollins comes from a very heavy financial background. So running the Department of Agriculture is also running, I believe, the fourth or the fifth largest bank in the United States. So it takes some economic bona fides, and it will take close synergy between the Department of Commerce and also the U.S. Treasury to ensure that there's synergistic effects.
Thank you for your commentary this morning, Cameron Hamilton, Republican strategist and former congressional candidate.
Thank you so much for having me.
A former county treasurer has pleaded guilty to embezzling more than $38 million.
Elizabeth Goodfar of Santa Cruz, Arizona, could face up to 35 years in prison.
Goodfar was charged last week with embezzlement, money laundering, and tax evasion.
Prosecutors say she stole tens of millions in county funds between 2012 and 2024 and used it to renovate her multiple ranches and buy at least 20 cars.
Goodfar admitted in court to wiring Santa Cruz County funds for her own personal use through several fake business accounts.
She is scheduled to be sentenced in February next year and could owe more than $13 million in taxes, in addition to $38 million in restitution.
Now, rain has left 2 people dead in Northern California. A powerful storm caused record rainfall in some areas, and more is expected.
It was the wettest 3 days of rain ever recorded for the city of Santa Rosa. Santa Rosa is in Sonoma County, about 60 miles north of San Francisco. 20 inches of rain fell and brought the county 3 times its normal rainfall for this time of year.
1 minute I was, we were pulling our RV out, and then I came back here to get the rest of our stuff, and I'm in a low riding car, which is like a Toyota Corolla, very low to the ground, and I'm gathering my belongings, and I'm looking over at our driveway, and the water is coming up so fast, and I look at my boyfriend, I'm like, we have to get out of here, like right now, like we got to get the cars out of here at least and try to come back with a truck or something. We've got to just go.
A local sheriff said a man died when he apparently drove down a flooded street and ended up submerged in water that was 6 feet deep. First responders reached his car after a passerby called 911, but it was too late. A second person was found dead near an overflowing creek. His death is still being investigated.
This was record-setting rainfall totals for 3 days here in Sonoma County. That we have never seen this kind of thing in anybody's recorded experience, and certainly in my personal experience, this is by far the most rain in a short period of time that we've had.
This time it just came up so fast, it didn't give us much time to help other people. So normally we'd probably be able to get everybody out, but the ones that are sick in the hospital or the ones that are out of town didn't quite make it, all of them, where normally we'd be able to get everybody.
Santa Rosa itself received 12.5 inches of rain in 3 days. A flood advisory is in effect until Monday afternoon. The trouble started last week when storms hit Washington and Oregon, then swept into California. The storms were caused by an atmospheric river, a phenomenon where moisture is carried through the sky from tropical areas. National Weather Service meteorologist Tori Dooley said another storm system is expected to arrive for Thanksgiving week and linger into Tuesday in the Pacific Northwest. More rain is expected, and snow is predicted for higher elevation areas.
And a DHL cargo plane crashed today on approach to an airport in Lithuania's capital and skidded into a house.
The crash killed a Spanish crew member.
The cause of the accident is under investigation. A surveillance video from a nearby company showed the plane descending normally and then exploding into a huge ball of fire behind a building.
Authorities say the plane skidded a few hundred meters. Rescue workers sealed off the area.
The cargo aircraft was carrying 4 people when it crashed at 5:30 a.m. local time. One person, a Spanish citizen, was declared dead. The other 3 crew members were injured.
DHL aircraft was operated by Swift Air, a mid-air-based contractor.
After the break, the holiday travel season is underway as millions of Americans are set to take to the sky or hit the road. What you need to know about the weather this week and how to plan your trip around it.
And the iconic Los Angeles Auto Show is back, and NTD's Ruby Lovell was there to take a peek at some of the famous cars from celebrities like Mark Wahlberg and Paris Hilton. Stay tuned.
بیست و سه سال 16 سال عمري ما هفت
اما داعش کردیان برانبر خشک و دایکانی ازدی اما کاری که دور لهمو چمک دموکراسی و موافقانی مرو و انسانیت او بارو خی که است های به تایبت عراق و سوریه بشه که دگرت و با حالانه که اداره اوباما کرد
ریم بو او هفت روز بو و داعش از کرد تامبوم کرا قوتینیز گریا بما متشکر به هر پیدن نبو باوان رحم نبو قدامنا سؤالان منخدران نزر باوان نوستم بس نه مانا گو بس نش پیشوش باش.
They would literally be auctioned in front of soldiers, and then the soldiers begin to bid.
زارود وان همو جیبره تی حملی زارود دم واسسی وان همو جیبره
وحشیگریه کی توا عیاره ظلمی که یک جار زور گوره لما افرقانه کرا و تعدایی که زور زوریان لیده که اما نه روزانه دست فروشی ده.
اليوم التوزيع كل الرصيد.
Imagine being a child, having a child mentality, and these evil people come and wheel you away from the only safety you've ever known.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
Welcome back. Millions of Americans are set to hit the roadways and airports this week as Thanksgiving travel holiday gets underway.
And two separate storms are set to hit parts of the U.S. that could cause significant delays. Let's take a look.
Planes, trains, and automobiles. The holiday travel season is underway. AAA is estimating a record-breaking 80 million people will travel 50 miles or more this week, and millions are expected to fly the friendly skies this Thanksgiving week.
TSA is expecting a potentially record-breaking holiday travel season. If recent experience is any guide, these will likely be some of the busiest travel days in U.S. history.
If you're flying or driving for Thanksgiving, weather could be an issue depending on your destination.
It's this system here. This is the one that's going to continue to spread its way across the country as we go through the rest of the week.
And the roads have been pretty intense.
The roads are pretty slippery. There's a slush layer underneath there, so you have to really be careful.
The storm will move east to start the week, bringing lighter rainfall to much of the eastern U.S., and officials are urging travelers to pack their patience as delays could pile up.
While there are, of course, some factors that affect travel, especially the weather, that are truly out of anybody's control, we can take and have taken a number of steps to make travel better.
Officials urge travelers to be safe and give themselves plenty of time to reach their destination.
Workers at Charlotte Douglas International Airport have gone on strike just as Thanksgiving week comes around.
They are protesting over what they say are unlivable wages.
Airport service workers voted Friday to stop work in North Carolina and began striking today.
Union officials said the workers are demanding, quote, an end to poverty wages and respect on the job during the holiday travel season.
The striking workers normally still provide services like cleaning airplane interiors, clearing trash, and escorting passengers in wheelchairs.
Charlotte Douglas Airport officials are predicting this holiday season to be the busiest on record.
Also, it's auto show season. NTD's Ruby Lovell is at the Los Angeles Auto Show.
She's checking out the most unique and colorful cars, especially those favored by stars like Mark Wahlberg. Let's take a look at this.
I'm at the pre-opening event of the Los Angeles Auto Show here at the iconic Los Angeles Convention Center. An annual 10-day event which is attended by over 100,000 people. This very important date in the calendar is for car enthusiasts where art, cars, and pop culture intersect. This year, West Coast Customs returns to the LA Auto Show with the West Coast Customs Experience, partnering with Cart Department, their New York-based new platform, which teams art, cars, and pop culture, founded by the very well-known art collector, Larry Walsh. I spoke to founder and CEO of West Coast Customs, Ryan Friedlinghaus, who launched West Coast Customs in 1993 with a loan of just $5,000 from his grandfather. First of all, many congratulations. Wow. I mean, these dazzling cars. This is an exhibition today, which is kind of a pre-event to the launch of the very, very famous Los Angeles Auto Show, which happens here every year.
Yeah, we're excited. We're excited because this year we tried to do something different. You know, everybody comes and they have displays of cars, but there's really not a whole lot of energy. So we're bringing the energy this year. So we brought our own cars, the West Coast Customs collection of just really nice cars from just different builds that I've done throughout the history of the company. And then also we worked with CART and we brought some art cars. And then outside, we have the full West Coast Customs experience where we have students building a car live. We call it the West Coast Customs Academy. And the academy just really takes students, whether it's from high school that they don't have like a career path, or people, you know, from the system that have been involved in certain situations that need a new path. And it's for free. Which is, you know, something that I think has never really been offered in this industry. So I'm trying to trend set in that space now.
Tell us some of your A-list actor clients, musician clients that you've custom made for.
Mark Wahlberg, you know, just people like that. When it comes to like the Travis Scotts of the world and the people that are really trying to break their own boundaries in their space, it's like I help achieve that. So this car started on a Tesla Roadster chassis, so it's full electric. Yeah. So this was like one of those projects, and when you look at it today, it's like in tune with everything, but we built this car almost 11 years ago.
I mean, this is the famous boxer,
Oscar de la Hoya. Yeah.
And champion. Yeah, tell us.
So this was one of his first custom cars that he had built over 25 years ago. Everything was there. On this project, it wasn't like we had to rebuild it. It was almost like bringing it back to life. So we redid the interior, freshened up the paint, you know, went through the engine, went through everything just so he could actually use it.
This is Paris Hilton's Bentley.
This project is so iconic from, you know, we built this over 15 years ago for her, and she still uses it in so much of her press that she does. Yeah. So it meant a lot to her, and, you know, for us, like, we restore it, bring it back to life, and then let her keep using it.
Cart department is the intersection between pop culture, art, and cars. I see their audiences are changing today, and I think art and culture and cars, you know, have a certain place now going into the future with all the activity with F1 and luxury and art and all those, and I feel that audiences really need that, and it's kind of well deserved. Ryan, West Coast, he's amazing, and he brings together his cars, which I would say popular culture, with art, so it's the perfect place to preview this collection. It's the first time that these cars have been shown in this way, and I'm very proud to be here. This car by Damien Hirst, very important car. Spot paintings, most famous body of work. I'm so happy to have this car in our collection. It's a really important artist, really important car. Wow. And I was really happy to have this car.
You have actually sold one of your collections through Sotheby's for $9 million, some of his works. Tell us about that.
Yes, so that happened 3 hours ago.
Wow, breaking news.
Breaking news, a group of subway drawings. Keith made drawings in the subway in the 80s, and I managed to put together a collection of 31, and they're pretty rare.
Yeah,
it's a really special car. Keith's influences were African art, Colombian art. He dealt in language and semiotics. The goal of this collection and the goal of Cart Department is to put together important artists of our time represented by cars as canvas, artistic expressions.
Ruby Lovell for the pre-event of the Los Angeles Auto Show here at the Los Angeles Convention Center, NTD.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. And I think West Coast Customs for sure is such an iconic, you know, because I don't know if you remember, but Pimp My Ride, the series on MTV, that definitely was one of my go-tos when I was growing up.
Really cool art that you see on some of those cars. And just going to those auto shows are so much fun. You get to get in there and try it. I mean, those Chevy electric vehicles look pretty cool.
Exactly. And they really do create art. And that's true. Talking about EVs, right? California, definitely a place where they definitely want to launch a lot of EVs. And I see why.
Yeah. Well, they're rolling them out.
Yeah, for sure. And we're moving on to a coffee shop in Massachusetts that went viral when it began asking customers to dance for free drinks.
Plus, an emperor penguin returns home after winding up in Australia.
The moonwalk, what appears to be the Running Man, and flossing. Just a few of the moves and grooves going viral for free caffeine. Coffee Milano Cafe in Massachusetts has folks dancing for drinks, and it's all over the internet.
People absolutely love it. They were smiling.
Owner Josh Rashid posted a sign outside the shop telling patrons to party down for 5 seconds and they'll get a complimentary coffee. Plus, those two steps are caught on TikTok and the viewers are having a latte fun. Writing, "This is such a good way to spread positivity. Imagine this is how we paid for Thanksgiving. lives everywhere, I'd love it. And girl took off her shoes and moonwalked. She deserves 2 cups. Agreed. The promotion is so popular, Rashid plans to throw a boogie blowout once a month.
You can dance away your day and have a cup of coffee with it.
How about we focus on some other frolickers, just a little more fuzzy? Check out these friends at Brookfield Zoo's Chicago, seemingly swimming in snow and loving it. This bear, for sure, is having a ball. The animals made the absolute most out of their first snowfall of the season. An emperor penguin that washed up in Australia is finally back where he belongs. This picture of a malnourished Gus stranded on a beach 2,200 miles from Antarctica went viral. After 20 days in the care of local wildlife experts, veterinarians say Gus bulked up enough to make the voyage to the Southern Ocean. His caretakers loaded him onto a boat and set out into the sea. They say now is the best time to return Gus to the ocean so he can thermoregulate before warmer weather returns. Safe travels, buddy.
What a tough cookie. But I'm glad he got help that he needed.
Got to get Gus some of that food. I mean, they need to pack on the weight and all that blubber so they can keep warm.
Exactly. And they need to huddle. He was all alone, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, glad he's going back to where he came from. All right. And we're heading to a quick break right here, but we'll be right back with more, so stay tuned.
I tell my son, I love you every single day.
I love you.
Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance, past programs, and all original music. Masterclasses, behind the scenes, comedy, and more. Explore shenyuncreations.com.
As we naturally age, many people are getting zero amount of this incredible and unique substance. That's when we start seeing an impact in our joints, skin, nails, and even our digestion.
People ask me, Dr. X, what is the #1 supplement I should be taking? My answer is multi-collagen protein.
People's reactions to me, people were like, what are you doing? What is going on? You look amazing. You have a glow about you.
What makes Ancient Nutrition Multi-Collagen stand out from other brands? 10 types of collagen. It's grass-fed, pasture-raised with vitamin C and probiotics. It's proven to reduce joint discomfort rapidly, continuously, and persistently. It improves the appearance of crow's feet after 4 weeks and improves skin tone after 8 weeks. And it promotes hair thickness, growth, and a reduction in hair breakage.
It has transformed everything from my hair. Like, my hair was starting to kind of just, come out, and I don't have that anymore. My skin feels amazing.
Call the number on your screen and find out how to get a free bottle when you order, plus free shipping and our 30-day money-back guarantee. And as a bonus, we will include Dr. Josh Axe and Jordan Rubin's revolutionary book, Multi-Collagen Makeover, free with your order, plus free shipping and free returns.
I have implicit trust in Dr. Axe because the plan worked. I'm living proof of it.
This is the collagen protein that is backed by clinical studies. It's what my family uses, it's what I use, and I know you're gonna benefit in a big way as well.
Love the results or get your money back. This special TV offer is not available in stores. Call the number on your screen or go online now.
Hi, welcome to NTD.
Good morning. Here are today's top stories. Senators ready to question President-elect Trump's picks to head the Department of Defense and Intelligence community. They want background checks. Are they patriots, or does their history present a challenge to their confirmation?
With weeks left before the end of President Biden's term, his administration is racing to push through a number of spending projects. How the Biden administration is planning to spend the rest of its allocated budget.
Cutting costs, regulations, and taxes. The next Trump administration could have a big impact on your wallet. We sit down with an economist to learn how.
Israel's ambassador to Washington says a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah could be days away. This as Israel and Lebanon continue to trade missile strikes, while authorities in the United Arab Emirates have arrested 3 people suspected of murdering an Israeli rabbi.
The holiday travel season is underway as millions of Americans are set to take to the sky or hit the road. What you need to know about the weather this week and how to plan your trip around it.
During the holiday season, friends and family gather together to enjoy the company and especially the food. A personal trainer shows us how we can stay fit during the Thanksgiving break.
This is NTD Good Morning, live from our global headquarters in New York City. Here are Evelyn Lee and Kevin Hogan.
Welcome to NTD.
Today is Monday, November 25th.
And President Biden has done a lot in his tenure, the infrastructure package, getting out the investments for so-called green energy. But now officials are saying that the incoming President-elect Trump might have a hard time blocking some of Biden's initiatives that come with a price tag.
Right. And what I also found really interesting is that they say that Trump might not actually want to, but just in case, with just weeks left in office, of course, President Biden is racing to complete several spending projects.
They involve billions in spending on energy, transportation, education, and more. Here's that story.
With President-elect Trump vowing to revoke any unspent funds, the Biden administration is racing against the clock to push through a number of grants. In a news conference last week, Transport Secretary Pete Buttigieg told reporters the administration wants to invest in better transportation and improving supply chains. He announced plans to use more than $3 billion on projects for U.S. ports, improving road safety, supporting manufacturing, and improving rail service. The Biden administration plans to issue a number of grants for environmental protections, including $3 billion to help local water utilities comply with a nationwide deadline to remove all lead piping. The EPA also announced plans to impose a federal fee on oil and gas companies that release dangerous methane fumes above a certain threshold. And the Energy Department is looking to push through a $500 million loan to Michigan-based SK Siltron for the manufacture of silicon carbide wafers used in electric vehicles. The Biden administration is also looking to get a federal rule through that would allow the Education Department to cancel student loans for those with financial hardships. It's one of the few debt forgiveness plans the courts have not halted or reversed. Military aid to Ukraine is also part of the last-minute spending plans. The Pentagon said they'll work to use all allocated funds before Trump takes office. This includes over $7 billion in weapons from Pentagon stockpiles and another $2.2 billion for future contracts to produce weapons. Democrats in the Senate are also moving to approve judicial appointments. The Senate Judiciary Committee last week confirmed April Perry as a U.S. District Court judge. So far, the Senate Judiciary Committee has approved more than a dozen pending judicial nominees. Another 8 nominations are awaiting committee votes, while 6 are waiting for hearing dates.
Meanwhile, senators are tasked with confirming President-elect Trump's cabinet picks.
Some Democrats are expressing openness to some of Trump's nominees. NTD's Melina Weisskopf reports.
Several of Trump's cabinet picks come from Capitol Hill. Having a closer relationship with other lawmakers, some Democrats are now expressing optimism about a few of them. Congresswoman Lori Chavez-Jarimer is now tapped to serve as Trump's labor secretary. This pick has garnered positive reaction from a top-ranking Democrat, Senator Patty Murray. The chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee said that she's, quote, glad to see that the former congresswoman supports pro-union legislation. As for Senator Marco Rubio, who's picked to serve as the Secretary of State, several Democrats are expressing positivity about his abilities.
So we have a friendship. We've served together. I look forward to talking to him to see what he's going to do and what his policies will be.
Well, I think Marco Rubio is enormously well qualified for the job for which he's been nominated. I still want to ask questions. I'm not going to completely prejudge even him.
Senator John Fetterman has been the most vocal Democrat in support of some of Trump's picks, telling reporters he doesn't know why an open dialogue is controversial.
And there's some that might be able to enthusiastically vote yes, and like my Senator Rubio or Stefanik, or actually there's that fantastic a labor nominee as well too. In fact, and I don't understand why it's controversial to say, hey, we're going to engage in that conversation.
Senators will hear from Trump's cabinet picks early next January. A simple majority is needed to approve them, which Republicans will then hold. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weiskup, NTD News.
The economy was the #1 issue this election cycle. While the stock market broke multiple high records under Biden, consumers still feel the pressure of inflation. Trump has said he would stem inflation by increasing domestic energy production and reining in government spending and regulations. NTD's Chris Beers sat down with Daniel Lacalle, chief economist at Spanish bank Treasury, to talk about how Trump's policies could impact your bottom line.
Certainly, government spending is the central element that generates higher inflation. So I think that reducing government spending is a very important factor. Government expenditure in the discretionary side of the budget can be reduced by easily $500 billion without having any negative impact on the services that the population receives. The other element that I think is very important is deregulation. For example, healthcare premiums in the United States have risen way too much because of regulation that limits competition. That would be a very significant improvement for U.S. citizens. The other element, of course, is energy policy. The energy policy that he has announced will certainly boost domestic oil and gas production. Additionally, obviously, it will create hundreds and thousands of jobs, as well as improving salaries. It's a very high salary industry.
Daniel, one thing Trump also wants to implement is new tariffs on anything coming into the U.S. 10 to 20%, we're hearing 60% tariffs added onto things coming from China, where we get a lot of our goods. Is Trump's cost reduction policy plan enough to counteract the potential cost increasing effects of tariffs?
Well, we need to remember that tariffs are not inflationary. And we have seen in the past, in the history of money, shows us that tariffs themselves don't cause inflation. What causes inflation is the increase in government spending. China can certainly adopt those tariffs without increasing prices to consumers, because they need the United States trade surplus in order to continue to maintain a certain level of inflow of US dollars in the economy. So the Chinese element is likely to happen because China itself is one of the countries that implements the biggest barriers to trade in the world. Therefore, the problem is not the United States tariffs, but the Chinese barriers to trade. The rest of the tariffs that Trump is announcing are mostly negotiation tariffs that the Trump administration is willing to negotiate with trading partners in order to improve the trading activity of United States companies abroad. So I think that that's the way to look at them. On the one side, some tariffs will be negotiated in order to improve the trade balance of the United States, and others, particularly for China, will be there. But I don't think that they're going to imply an increase in aggregate prices, which is what CPI inflation measures.
Interesting. Thank you for getting into the nuances of that and clarifying things for us. Now, the next president has floated the idea of straight up abolishing income tax. How could he supplement the income from the revenue from that with other measures?
Well, obviously, it's very difficult to directly eliminate income tax. The income tax revenue is one of the, not just the strongest revenues in the budget, but the one that is probably more stable than others. The income tax in the United States could be easily reduced significantly by being a little bit more creative with the brackets, simplifying the brackets, making them more attractive, more focused on what the reality of the U.S. economy is, and therefore reducing it for the middle class and reducing it for the segments that apply to professionals in particular, etc., so that the income tax would be significantly lower, but without any impact on revenues. The element that needs to be taken into account to reduce the deficit and cut debt is to reduce expenditure, which was not the case in the first administration of Mr. Trump. So in this occasion, government efficiency measures are going to be a key element to maintain or to at least strengthen the financial situation of public accounts.
And those measures are, of course, the focus of the new Department of Government Efficiency that will be headed by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. Should be very interesting to watch over the next 4 years. Daniel Lacalle, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Coming up, Israel and Lebanon continue to trade missile strikes while authorities in the United Arab Emirates have arrested 3 people suspected of murdering an Israeli rabbi.
Is China looking to cash in for helping Russia during its war with Ukraine? A U.S. top admiral thinks the communist nation could score big wins from Russia in submarine technology. Stay tuned for more.
Kids love it. Parents trust it. Obviously. Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjian Campus courses led by expert educators. This is spectacular. Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more. Wow. All while having fun. Perfect. Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
This is such a gentle painting, so beautifully portrayed.
A group of people reading together in this simple, everyday-looking living room. A young girl reading along with an adult, a grandparent sitting in the lotus position, a businessman in his typical suit.
You see all those people, they look like they have quietly settled down there. And you as a viewer, it looks like you've just stepped in the door.
You can't see what it is they're reading, so you're a little bit curious and you're kind of invited to walk in.
This harmonious feeling is not by accident. It is the very subject of the work. The book they are reading is the main text of Falun Gong, which is an ancient Chinese spiritual discipline in the Buddhist tradition. At the core of Falun Gong are the values of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. Unfortunately, the practice is banned in China, where the artist resides. Thousands have been killed for their faith. Golden energy blooms into the room as a result of their steadfast faith. The painting on the back wall reminds us of this work's title, Plum Blossoms in a Muddy World.
It's also a metaphor for the practitioners that are sitting in the room as plum blossoms.
They signify perseverance and hope that all brutal winters end and life is renewed once again.
It's a magical painting.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
Welcome back. Israel's ambassador to Washington says a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah could be days away.
Mike Herzog told Israeli media there are points to finalize, but that the government was close to a deal with the Iran-backed terrorists.
Herzog said the deal includes plans to move both Israeli troops and Hezbollah fighters out of southern Lebanon.
One of the issues still to be finalized is an Israeli demand to reserve the right to act should Hezbollah violate the conditions of the agreement.
Israel has accused Hezbollah of violating the UN resolution that ended the 2006 war, while Lebanon says Israel has sent ships and jets into its territory when there was no conflict.
It is not yet clear whether Lebanon will agree to the deal.
Meanwhile, an Israeli rabbi who went missing in the United Arab Emirates has been found murdered.
The U.A.E.'s Jewish community is in shock at the news. This as Israel conducted one of the deadliest strikes on the heart of Lebanon. Here's the story.
U.A.E. authorities have arrested 3 people suspected of murdering an Israeli Moldovan rabbi, according to the Emirati Interior Ministry on Sunday. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office on Sunday denounced the killing. He said it was, quote, a heinous anti-Semitic terrorist act.
The state of Israel will use every means to bring the murderers and their dispatchers to justice. None of them will escape accountability. I greatly appreciate the cooperation with the U.A.E. in investigating this murder.
Full details of the incident will be disclosed upon the conclusion of the investigations, according to a social media post by the U.A.E.'s Ministry of Interior. Meanwhile, in Israel, at least 9 people are injured after dozens of projectiles were fired from Lebanon into Israel on Sunday. The Israeli military said Hezbollah was behind the attacks, saying at least 160 projectiles has been fired over the border. According to police, residential buildings were hit in the cities of Nahariya and Haifa. It comes after an Israeli airstrike killed at least 20 people in central Beirut on Saturday, according to Lebanon's health ministry. It's one of the deadliest strikes on the heart of the capital since Israel began its assault against the Iran-backed Hezbollah group. The blast struck the capital at around 4 a.m. and left a deep crater. It was the 4th Israeli airstrike this week targeting a central area of Beirut.
Over to Ukraine now, where local authorities say a Russian missile strike hit the port city of Odessa this morning, injuring 10 people. This as President-elect Trump's pick for national security advisor says the war in Ukraine must come to a responsible end. It comes as Russia launched at least 73 drones into Ukraine over the weekend. NTD's Fiona G has the details.
The latest exchange of fire comes after Ukraine launched U.S.-made ATACMS long-range missiles for the first time. Mike Waltz, President-elect Donald Trump's pick for national security advisor, said the war must be brought to a responsible end.
We need to restore deterrence, restore peace, and get ahead of this escalation ladder rather than responding to it.
He also emphasized the unity between the current Biden administration and upcoming Trump administration.
Jake Sullivan and I have had discussions. We've met. For our adversaries out there that think this is a time of opportunity, that they can play one administration off the other, they're wrong. And we are hand in glove. We are one team with the United States in this transition.
Amid these rising tensions, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken arrived in Italy Sunday to attend a meeting of the Group of 7 countries. The State Department said Blinken would discuss issues including conflicts in the Middle East, Russia's war against Ukraine, Indo-Pacific security, and the ongoing crises in both Haiti and Sudan.
Could China end up profiting from the war in Ukraine?
Indo-Pacific Commander Samuel Paparo says the conflict could result in a dangerous quid pro quo between Russia and China.
PRC has helped to rebuild Russia's war machine with 90% of its semiconductors and 70% of the machine tools that have rebuilt that war machine. I expect Russia to provide submarine technology to the PRC that has the potential of closing American undersea dominance to the PRC.
Paparo said that tech exchange could lead to China closing the gap on American undersea dominance. The Indo-Pacific commander was speaking at the Halifax International Security Forum over the weekend. China boasts the largest navy in the world with more than 370 ships, but its submarine fleet is considered inferior to the U.S.'s.
A recent report said U.S. submarine capabilities remain an area of unquestionable U.S. dominance. The United States has 66 nuclear submarines, while China has 12. Paparo also expressed concern about the growing cooperation among China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia.
Taiwan's defense ministry reported a Chinese balloon over the sea to its north today. It's the first time since April that it reported such an incident. Taipei views such occurrences as part of a pattern of harassment by Beijing. Taiwan said in January that Chinese balloon activity took place at an unprecedented scale. That was the period leading up to its presidential election. It described the incidents as part of a Chinese pressure campaign, calling it gray zone warfare designed to exhaust an enemy using irregular tactics without open combat. China has previously dismissed Taiwan's complaints about the balloons, saying they were for weather monitoring purposes. The Chinese regime claims Taiwan as part of its territory, despite never having ruled the island. Coming up, if RFK Jr. is confirmed as Trump's health secretary, he could bring changes to the personnel at the agencies he oversees. We'll hear from an Epoch Times reporter who followed Kennedy's campaign.
The holiday travel season is underway as millions of Americans are set to take to the sky or hit the road. What you need to know about the weather this week and how to plan your trip around it coming up.
What if you could whiten your teeth by simply brushing your teeth? Now you can with Smile Actives, the teeth whitening breakthrough that safely gets your teeth white and keeps them white every day just by brushing your teeth.
I never thought that whitening my teeth could be so easy. I just put the gel on the brush, the toothpaste on it, brush, and I can see my white teeth.
Simply add Smile Actives to any toothpaste and our patented PolyClean technology activates into a powerful microfoam that penetrates into the enamel surface to safely lift and remove stains.
You need a simple way to whiten your teeth. Without strips, without trays, without going to the dentist. And it was about time that a product was developed that you would be able to do that with just brushing.
And now, Smile Actives is even better with new Pro Whitening Gel with 33% greater whitening power, clinically shown to whiten teeth faster, up to 8 shades. 100% of users saw whiter teeth. On food stains, coffee and wine stains, even on veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I eat the blueberries, I drink the coffee, and I know that Smile Actives will keep my teeth white every day.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Why spend hundreds of dollars for whitening treatments at the dentist when now you can whiten your teeth with new Smile Actives Pro Whitening Gel every time you brush your teeth? Call or go to smileactives.com and for a limited time get new Pro Whitening Gel for just $24.95. Order in the next 5 minutes and buy one get one absolutely free for just $24.95. That's 2 for 1 and save 58%. We'll even include free shipping. Get your teeth whiter guaranteed or return it within 60 days for your money back.
I smile every day now.
The difference is literally night and day.
So now I'm always smiling, always choosing, because now my teeth are much whiter.
This offer is not available in stores, so call or click now before the special buy one get one free offer goes away.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Okay.
And we'd never babysit with a screen. We said we'd never let the toys take over.
Mariella!
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight. Skylar, come here. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Welcome back.
If you're just now tuning in, we're going to bring you some of the big stories of the day.
Israel's ambassador to Washington says a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah could be days away. This as authorities in the United Arab Emirates have arrested 3 suspects in connection with the murder of an Israeli rabbi. The U.A.E.'s Ministry of Interior said the full details of the incident will be disclosed after the investigation is concluded. And in Israel, 9 people were injured after dozens of projectiles were fired from Lebanon into Israel yesterday. That's after an Israeli airstrike struck central Beirut on Saturday.
Several of Trump's cabinet picks have garnered optimism from some Democrats on Capitol Hill, including Trump's pick for Labor Secretary, Congresswoman Lori Chavez DeRemer, and Trump's pick for Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Senators will hear from Trump's picks in early January before approving them with a simple majority.
With just a few weeks left before President-elect Trump takes office, the Biden administration is rushing to push through a number of spending projects and grants. These include energy and transportation infrastructure, as well as student debt forgiveness and military aid to Ukraine. The Senate is also racing to confirm several judicial appointments before time runs out.
What is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s plan for America's health? If confirmed as Donald Trump's Health and Human Services Secretary, he could bring changes to personnel at the agencies he oversees. This and other plans would further his goal to make America healthy again. For a closer look at what to expect, NTD's Chris Beers spoke with Epoch Times reporter Jeff Louderback, who covered Kennedy on the campaign trail during the presidential race.
Well, from the beginning of his campaign, he entered the race in April 2023. And of course, it's well known that he ran as a Democrat at first and then decided to run as an independent in October 2023. Throughout that, all 15, 16 months, he focused on one of his campaign platforms. His major campaign platform was ending corporate capture of government agencies. So that will be a big part of what he plans to do, what he says he plans to do if he's confirmed by the Senate. And so really removing the staff that has ties to big ag, big pharma, anything related to big business that influences the agencies like NIH, CDC, FDA.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to find out that some of the people on the boards that advise these agencies come from big agriculture, and it does seem like there could be a conflict of interest there. Now, he vowed to get processed foods out of school lunchrooms. What are some of the concerns? What are some of his concerns about these foods?
Well, and again, that is related to corporations' influence on government agencies, where like SNAP has a big contract with Coca-Cola. I believe that Coca-Cola has a big impact. He's talked about how he wants to get chemicals. He's mentioned Fruit Loops. They've come under fire from RFK Jr. I know a lot of people love Fruit Loops, but how they have artificial dyes in them, where in the United States they have that, but over in Europe they don't. So that's a big part of what he plans to do, and what has been his emphasis is the United States has ingredients in foods that other countries don't have. You could get cleaner versions of Fruit Loops or other foods in Europe and other countries and continents that you can't in the United States, and that's going to be a day one objective for him. He's going to hit the ground running. At least he said he will do that.
Okay, so it sounds like Fruit Loops aren't at risk, but maybe some of the ingredients in them are. RFK Jr. has been branded as anti-vaxxer. What vaccine-related policies might he implement when and if he does become confirmed?
Well, if you look at his background, and I started covering RFK Jr. during COVID, and then I interviewed him several times as well during the East Palestine disaster, because he's representing families there and he's an environmental attorney. So he's he's been focused on children's health, health in general, and environmental factors throughout his career, and he's the founder of Children's Health Defense. A big part of that, and a big part of what he wants to do, really based on what he's done and what he's said, it's inaccurate to say for anyone to say he's an anti-vaxxer, because he focuses and he talks about how he advocates for vaccine safety and informed consent. So he has said that he's not against vaccines. He is for safety and for letting people, thorough science, thorough detailed studies, and to release that information so people know what they're putting in their bodies, just like when they eat Fruit Loops. So he wants people to know that what they're getting when they decide whether or not to put a vaccine in their body.
All right, Epoch Times reporter Jeff Louderback, thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you.
Millions of Americans are set to hit the roadways and airports this week as this Thanksgiving travel holiday gets underway.
And 2 separate storms are set to hit parts of the U.S. that could cause significant delays. Take a look at this.
Planes, trains, and automobiles. The holiday travel season is underway. AAA is estimating a record-breaking 80 million people will travel 50 miles or more this week, and millions are expected to fly the friendly skies this Thanksgiving week.
TSA is expecting a potentially record-breaking holiday travel season. If recent experience is any guide, these will likely be some of the busiest travel days in U.S. history.
If you're flying or driving for Thanksgiving, weather could be an issue depending on your destination.
It's this system here. This is the one that's going to continue to spread its way across the country as we go through the rest of the week.
And the roads have been pretty intense.
The roads are pretty slippery. There's a slush layer underneath there, so you have to really be careful.
The storm will move east to start the week, bringing lighter rainfall to much of the eastern U.S., and officials are urging travelers to pack their patience as delays could pile up.
While there are, of course, some factors that affect travel, especially the weather, that are truly out of anybody's control, we can take and have taken a number of steps to make travel better.
Officials urge travelers to be safe and give themselves plenty of time to reach their destination.
American Shore is setting one record after another.
Yeah, that's right. Really good to see people getting out. And I mean, this is going to be a record-breaking holiday travel, but the TSA administrator says that they have record numbers of staff on hand to help too, so that's good.
There we go. Yeah, but nonetheless, right? Airlines, most airlines at least, they generally suggest to be at the airport 2 hours in advance if it's domestic and 3 if it's international, of course.
Yeah.
It might be something to take into consideration.
And just temper your expectations too. I mean, one traveler, it took him 12 hours to get from Peoria, Illinois to Atlanta from all that weather. So
yeah, definitely be vigilant and be careful as well.
Yeah.
All right, we're moving on. Workers at Charlotte Douglas International Airport have gone on strike just as Thanksgiving week comes around.
They are protesting over what they say are unlivable wages.
Airport service workers voted Friday to stop work in North Carolina and began striking today.
Union officials said the workers are demanding, quote, an end to poverty wages and respect on the job during the holiday travel season.
The striking workers normally still provide services like cleaning airplanes' interiors, clearing trash, and escorting passengers in wheelchairs.
Charlotte Douglas Airport officials are predicting this holiday season to be the busiest on record.
And a replica of the hidden Annex where Anne Frank hid from Nazi occupiers during World War II is heading to New York. It will take center stage in a show titled Anne Frank: The Exhibition at the Center for Jewish History in Manhattan. NTD's international correspondent Elisa Warnar has more.
A full-scale replica of the rooms at the Anne Frank Museum is being built in the Netherlands. Once completed, it will be shipped across the Atlantic.
Visitors to the Anne Frank Museum in Amsterdam can retrace the steps to the secret annex in which the young Jewish diarist and her family hid from the Nazis. Now a full-scale replica of the rooms is being recreated for a journey to New York. The replica annex will form part of an exhibition at Manhattan Center for Jewish History designed to immerse visitors in Anne's story.
For the first time in history, the Anne Frank House will present what I would call a pioneering experience outside of Amsterdam, to immerse visitors in a full-scale, meticulous recreation of the secret annex.
In July 1942, 13-year-old Anne Frank, her parents Otto and Edith, and her 16-year-old sister Margot went into hiding in the annex. They sought to evade capture by the Nazi occupiers. They stayed in the annex until they were discovered in 1944.
Those rooms where Anne Frank, her parents, her sister, 4 other Jews, spent more than 2 years hiding to evade Nazi capture.
Anne and her sister Margot were then sent to a concentration camp, where they both died of typhus in February 1945. Anne was 15. Her father was the only person from the annex to survive the Holocaust. He published Anne's diary after the war. It became a publishing sensation and a symbol of hope and resilience.
What we try to achieve with this exhibition is that people, our visitors, will learn about Anne not just as a victim, but through the multifaceted lens of her life, as a teenage girl, as a writer, as a symbol of resilience and of strength.
The rebuilt annex will be the heart of the show. It will trace the history of Anne's family from their time in Germany. The exhibit will also cover their move to the Netherlands and their decision to go into hiding. Over 100 items from Amsterdam are being sent to New York for the exhibition, including photos and albums. These artifacts feature items such as the yellow stars that Jews were ordered to wear in the occupied Netherlands.
And we have selected 125 objects from letters, albums, photographs, first copies of diaries, actually 125 very different objects. And then, of course, we have to look, well, can they travel? Are they fit for travel? I think the originals, which Anne had her handwriting in it, of course. So we have a few poetry albums on display, a friendships album with a verse of Anne and a little photograph. I think that is, of course, very touching and moving and very special.
The exhibition comes at a time of rising anti-Semitism and anger at Israel's war in Gaza, following the deadly October 7th attacks by terrorist group Hamas.
We feel it's our responsibility as Anne Frank House has never been greater. And this exhibition is also in part a response to that responsibility to educate people to stand against anti-Semitism, to stand against group hatred.
The exhibition opens on January 27th on the International Holocaust Remembrance Day. It marks the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz. Elisa Warnaar, NTD News, Amsterdam.
Absolutely incredible. Also, I think this will, well, first of all, I can't imagine how much courage it must have taken for Otto Frank, the dad, to actually read all those pages in her diary and then publish it.
I know. Yeah, I remember learning about Anne Frank in school. It's such an important story.
Yeah.
Great that they're recreating this. And you know, they chose New York because of the ties between the city and the Franks. And that's Otto, Anne's father. He actually had an American roommate at Heidelberg University who invited him back to New York to come to visit him. So.
Oh, yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, I mean, okay, that's good background to know. And I think that really sounds like it's the closest you can get to really, you know, put yourself in her shoes and really feel what it could have felt like at that time with all the furnishings and the multimedia that makes it possible.
Oh, absolutely.
So definitely a very in-depth experience. Now we're moving on to NASA. Scientists are giving us a rare glimpse at a newborn planet.
At only 3 million years old, the planet is still considered a baby in space.
A science team led by an astronomer at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill says it's the youngest planet so far discovered.
Researchers say the massive planet is still glowing from the heat of its formation.
It's located in the Taurus Molecular Cloud, which is an active stellar nursery with hundreds of newborn stars. It's located 430 light years away. And coming up, during the holiday season, friends and family gather together to enjoy the company and especially the food. A personal trainer shows us how we can stay fit during the Thanksgiving break.
Stay tuned to get 2 rolls of alien tape free. You wouldn't stick your mother-in-law on the wall, but you could with alien tape. It just sticks. Just peel and stick to make anything stay in place quick. Brick, pavers, marble, tile, plastic, even leather. Nothing works better than alien tape. You wouldn't stick your fishbowl on a moving car, but you could with alien tape. The secret is nano-stick technology that grabs and locks on to secure one side of the surface to the other. Alien tape secures in seconds, then twist, pull, and rinse to reuse. Call or go online to get your first roll of alien tape for just $19.99, plus shipping and processing. But to make this deal really stick, we'll give you 2 more rolls absolutely free. You get 3 rolls of alien tape for one low price. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-490-1364 or go to tryalientape.com. So call 1-800-490-1364 or order online at tryalientape.com.
Funny expression. There's a little scar right below his neck. The artist, on a trip to somewhere in South America, he met this kid who told him a story about himself. The technique is really good. As you'll see, like in the foreground, there's water on his face. The texture is so realistic, but then sort of in the back, you have these washed out colors, almost a sort of fantasy feel. The whole of the picture is very balanced, and you still get that sense of harmony and warm light from it. The artist, he was really moved by the child's spirit. The child's from the slums, and so he looks around and he sees people who either get into drugs or they get into gangs, and he doesn't want that for himself. So he was telling this artist about how he's going to make a better life for himself. The immense spirit and determination that the kid had really stuck with the guy, so that's why he painted such a large portrait of the child.
Many of us have been child fighters. But this little kid learned to defend himself in his own way. It's a great sacrifice that way. And so this is another form of strength, another form of endurance. We are capable of much more than we think. These children amaze us.
Welcome back. Joining us in studio right now is Juliana Bettencourt. She will have some great tips on how to stay fit over the holidays.
Yes, she's a certified personal trainer at Blink Fitness. And while we're looking forward to the holiday feast, we might not as much looking forward to the weight gain. So, I mean, everyone's going to gather around, probably eat a lot of that turkey, especially. How do we maintain like a healthy weight throughout the holidays?
Right. Well, the first thing I want to say, touching upon this first holiday that's approaching, right, Thanksgiving, which is next week, to lighten the stress on everybody, you have to, in terms of gain an extra pound or 2 of actual fat, over the course of a week, you have to eat an additional 3,500 calories, right? So we're talking about extra 500 calories a day in order to even gain 1 pound of fat. So I would like to lighten the stress load on everybody. I don't think that even within the Thanksgiving day, on that one day that we are maybe overindulging, I don't foresee anybody gaining 1 to 5 pounds of fat, right? If you step on the scale the following day, what we're probably going to see is a lot of water retention due to the increase in sodium that we had that day, due to digestion. So honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about Thanksgiving or just one day of eating.
So we can splurge.
So you could splurge. I think the one thing that I would say is, right, what happens on Thanksgiving is a lot of binge eating. eating, right? So waiting until the last second so you can eat as much as possible, and then you overeat, which is also somewhat a problem, right? So I would say a lot of people, they're in the kitchen all day. They maybe don't get to eat before the actual meal comes. For those who want to wait until the meal comes, just try to pace yourself throughout the day. Still eat something. Think of it as a regular day, and then you can still treat yourself to the things that Thanksgiving has. You know, all the pies, all the turkey, like we love to see it. And then the following day, also don't restrict yourself on anything. You can still wake up and have breakfast. You can still wake up and have a regular meal, and try to just get back to your routine.
Got it. So don't skip, let's say, breakfast to eat more on at Thanksgiving dinner or something like that.
Yeah.
And would you recommend, though, still to get more active during that time? Or, you know, is there still a necessity for us to get motivated and get out?
I mean, I think there's a necessity always to get motivated and throughout. I think it's definitely harder throughout the holiday season, specifically being in New York. You know, it starts to get cold, it gets darker faster. I know seasonal depression is huge. Getting out of bed gets a little bit harder. So it does take an extra motivation for you to do it. So just remind yourself of your goals, you know, stay disciplined with all of it. I don't think you have to switch up anything in particular. Like if you have a set workout routine and you have been really consistent, we don't have to now add a plethora of exercises or minutes to your workout routine just because you've maybe overindulged on a day or two. We just try to get back into it.
Well, Thanksgiving, I mean, that's got the meat and potatoes, you know, a lot of sugary foods, like you were mentioning, the pies. So should we adjust our workouts to kind of offset that high caloric load?
Yeah, I would say not necessarily adjust. I think what I would add for some people is a low intensity cardio, like a walk, something like that is always going to help better our digestion. So I think that's where we're going to struggle a lot. Again, with the high increase in sodium and sugar that we're going to be seeing throughout the holidays, we're going to naturally feel a little bit more sluggish. Our body's going to have a harder time digesting all of these foods. So going on a light walk after we've eaten or the next day, just try to get your body moving lightly, but you don't have to increase and spend an extra hour in the gym trying to replenish any of the calories that you may have gained.
Such good information. Yeah, it's good to know. It's kind of a relief.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's enough stress already, so why stress yourself out even more?
Exactly.
You get good sleep after that turkey. Juliana Bedenker, personal trainer, thank you so much. We're going to really have fun in a minute when we're doing all these exercises, so stay with
tuned.
us. We might all learn something here.
Yeah.
There are real consequences to controlled media. And NTD's founders know them firsthand. Our freedom of thought is the price. This is the lesson that guides us in everything we do.
So there's the tear gas there.
We know the value of a free society. And we take seriously the responsibility to preserve it. We are NTD.
Hey there, welcome back. We're here with our studio crew and Juliana Bedenker. She's a certified personal trainer at Blink Fitness. She's going to show us some tips on how to keep fit during these holidays because we're going to be eating a lot.
Of course, yeah. We're gonna do some body weight exercises. I'm so happy we have a whole team here. So we'll start off nice and easy. We're gonna put our feet about hip width apart, right? We're gonna be seated a lot of this time, so let's get our legs moving throughout the holidays as well. So we're gonna drop it into a squat. So we're gonna send our hips back and down, sitting into that invisible chair. Now on the way up, we're going into a calf raise. So we're coming up on our tippy toes, find your balance, and then we're gonna come back down. This might be hard in some dress shoes, but we're gonna try it. Let's go for 8 more, why not? So drop it low, come up, that's 1, and drop it low again, 2, up, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's right.
I'm feeling the burn.
7, last one.
Absolutely.
8, there we go. Nice, and we can pause, right? So getting our legs moving, we're gonna be seated a lot, getting into our hip flexors, into our quads, and up on our tippy toes just for that extra burn, I would say. This is also a modified version of our jump squat. So for our viewers who are watching, you can take it a little bit more explosive and we can jump it up. From here, we're gonna go into our split squat position. So place one foot in front, the other one is gonna go directly behind. This is gonna require some balance and coordination. You can go ahead, either put your hands on your hips, or out to the side, wherever it's best to keep balance. We're gonna drop our back knee straight down, get 90 degrees in the front. Yeah, there we go. And then come all the way back up. Let's do 8 more there. Ready? We go 7, 6, 5, good.
That's a lot of focus
4,
to not fall over.
I know. 3, last 2,
Really isolating.
Last 1, beautiful. Now we can do the same thing on the other side because we have 2 legs. Ready? Same thing on the other one. Here we go. We go 8. Yeah. 7, 6. Nice. 5, 4. Good. 3, 2, and 1.
I'm gonna need those mashed potatoes after this.
You're gonna need the mashed potatoes and the turkey. A little
And
bit
you're
of protein
allowed
to get
to
you
now.
going. And you're allowed to. There we go.
Carb load.
Yeah, carb load. And I'm also gonna show you one specifically for our core. Again, balance, coordination, kind of getting your heart rate up. So you can place your hands behind your head. From here, we're gonna connect our elbow to the opposite knee. It's gonna cross in front, and then you're gonna come back. We're gonna stay on that side. Let's go for 8 more. 8, 7.
So that's like a crunch, but just
6,
standing up
exactly.
so you can do it wherever you want.
7, 6, 5, 4. Again, working on our balance, on our coordination, something that you can do standing, which I think is also a great modified version for a lot of viewers. Let's do the other side. Same thing on the other side.
I'm ready.
Gotta
Let's
even
do
it
it.
out, you guys. I know, here we go. We go 8. Good. 7, really feeling the rotation. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, last 1. Gorgeous. Nice. That was
Gets
great.
the heart rate up.
Gets the heart rate up, right? So if you do these consecutively, I would say maybe like 10 to 15 reps. I would add a little bit more and kind of work through them like a circuit. So you can work through them, kind of just one after the other, get to rest after, and then move on to the next one.
You've done a lot of this.
I have done a lot of this. I have. I mean, you would hope so, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
so-
love that you just talk right through it. I'm out of breath already.
Oh,
1,
yeah.
2.
I mean, as a trainer, you tend to do some of the exercises with your clients, and you're there and you're counting and you're talking, and they're out of breath, but you're doing great, you know? I would show another one for our core, which are our high knees, right? So it's nice and simple, just bringing your knee up into your chest. You want to envision your lower abdominals being the muscle group that's pulling your knee up. So really focusing on each muscle group at a time. Again, for our viewers who want to add a little bit more power, you can add in a hop, which is naturally high knees. Add a little bit more of a hop to it. Again, getting your heart rate up, getting your blood flowing.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Of
Little
course.
pep in your step.
A little pep in your step, yeah. But last but not least, this one is gonna feel a little bit more like a stretch. It's our hinge and reach with a lat pull, which is a mouthful, but we're all gonna do it together. So you're gonna start with your feet about hip width apart. Your arms are gonna be out in front of you. You want to imagine someone is pulling your hips, someone else is grabbing your arms. So you're gonna be pulled in 2 different directions. Trying to keep a flat back. Once you're in this parallel position, pull your elbows in together. You're gonna squeeze up at the top, feel your shoulder blades come, reach all the way back out, and then stand all the way back out. Yeah, wow. So feeling a stretch kind of right behind your legs, getting into your hip flexors all the way down your spine, and then as you bring your elbows together, we are incorporating our upper body here, really working on our posture, reaching back out to stand all the way back up.
Yeah,
So
that's
that's
nice stretch.
for the shoulder muscles.
Everything, so everything behind the back of your body, right? The posterior chain. So you're getting that stretch in your hamstring.
Right.
So it's gonna get into your glutes, into your hamstrings. And then as you pull your shoulders together, we are activating our upper body, so our upper muscles.
Got it.
Upper back.
I might just get hooked.
You might, I hope so. I mean, that's the whole point. I want everybody to get hooked to working out. I would love that. Even if it's this, I wouldn't even mind if after the holidays, if this is the routine that you stick with post-holidays up to 2-3 months after, something is better than nothing.
Absolutely. And I love how we just have a personal trainer in studio today.
Yeah.
What kind of a fun work day is that?
To get you moving on a Monday.
Yeah.
No, I love it. No, and then for the last one, let's just open up our legs nice and wide. We're gonna go into a lateral lunge. You might need a wider stance than that when you got some longer legs than I do. I know those pants might be kind of restricting. But let's try not to rip them. We're gonna go into the lateral lunge. You're gonna swing over to one side. Good. Feel that stretch on your inner thigh. Come back to center, and then you're gonna hold to the other side. Good. So we're gonna go for 8 more. We go 8. Good. Other side, 7. Nice. 6, 5.
You're fast.
4. Yeah. 3, 2, and 1. Good.
Wow.
Relax.
So we got time for one more.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%, why not?
Yeah.
So for the last one, we're gonna go ahead, again, up into our standing position. We're gonna get into our side, which are our obliques, which I think is a muscle that a lot of people ignore, right? So again, instead of crossing in front, you're connecting to the side, which again is gonna work our balance. You're gonna have to find your balance on one leg, really connect your elbow to the outside of your knee. Imagine the outside of your abdominals being the wall that you're focusing on as you crunch. Make sure you're breathing. It is hard. I think the hardest part here is the balance for a lot of people, balancing on one leg. If you know that you struggle with balance and coordination, I definitely think it's something you should be incorporated into your routine. Let's do 5 on the other side, or 6. 6. 5, good. 4, 3, 2, last one, 1. Good. Relax.
Oh, this is awesome. I feel great.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So to kind of like add those back in, it's nice to move your body, especially when you know all you've done all day is sit and eat. Let's get up. Just show your body some love.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone here did great too. Thanks for joining us, all the studio crew.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, of course.
That was fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a personal trainer. We got to use that.
Yeah,
that's right. I think now it's time for a little cool down though. Juliana Bedenker, certified personal trainer at Blink. Thank you for helping us navigate the holidays so we can eat and then work out.
Absolutely, or work out and then eat, whichever way.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Juliana.
Of course, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As for us, we're ending right here, but stay tuned for NTD News Today. That starts at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm Evelyn Lee. Thank you so much.
My mom and dad were traditional Asian parents. Now my father would go to work before I woke up in the morning, and then he would come home too tired to play with me. I tell my son, I love you every single day. I love you. Now my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. So I teased him the other day and I said, how come you never say that to me? And he said, you're too old now. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the material things, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious minute or moment.
Say bye-bye, baby.
Shenyun Creations, the streaming platform from Shenyun, featuring world-class dance,